My name is Gretchen Rubin, and this is The Happiness Project. The pigeon of discontent for this week is certainly one of the most common issues that people raise about their happiness. It's a problem that comes up over and over again, and in fact, it's such a large issue that maybe it shouldn't be called a pigeon of discontent. Maybe it's more like an emu of discontent. And that is the question of how do you avoid being dragged down by depressed or otherwise difficult family members? Because this issue of how do we insulate ourselves from other people's persistent negativity is something that is very common and is very hard to deal with. And one of the things that I think is really helpful to think about is not to try to convert somebody or to persuade somebody to see the world in a very different way. Because what I see happening a lot is that there's a person who sees things negatively, or they may say realistically, and a person who sees things more positively or optimistically, and they butt heads, they deplete each other, they exhaust each other because they're trying to convince the person on the other side to see things their way. And so if you find yourself always going to that person and saying things like, look on the bright side, things aren't so bad, smile, it's going to turn out okay, you might find yourself just feeling more and more exhausted and frustrated when you're unable to persuade somebody to see it your way. But the fact is, on their part, and I hear this a lot from people who see the world that way, is they feel exhausted and frustrated by other people's attempt to try to change their view of the world. And so, as is true in a lot of areas of happiness, if you can just acknowledge the reality of other people's feelings, just acknowledge that you hear what they're saying, and you understand their point of view, and you don't try to convert them or to persuade them to see things from your point of view, well, then you both might be able to live together more harmoniously. Now, it's very true that emotions are contagious, and happy people help make people happy. But you're not going to be able to make someone be happy. So if there's someone who's persistently negative in your life, just try to allow them to see things their way, acknowledge the reality of their feelings, but don't try to feel like it's your mission to try to persuade them to see the world in a different way. So the resolution for this pigeon of discontent is acknowledge the reality of other people's feelings without trying to persuade them to see things your way.